Hello everyone, and welcome to a little special addendum installment for Operation Goliath. This addendum is taking place in between the events of session 17 and 18, right? I believe that is it. Hyperion.
Yes.
Yes. Indeed. Between the events of the cadre arriving at the warehouse and before their expedition out to the facility for Fontaine. So, without further ado, Mia, if you would.
Oh boy. Mia finds herself lying on the floor of the Underheaven warehouse. It's been around a week since the events of the solstice. Bored out of her mind, she realizes she needs to find something to do. But what? Maybe she could talk to someone. Maybe they'll have some ideas of something to do. Perhaps Jake. Although, with what just happened to Willow, he doesn't seem to be in the mood. Everyone else had their own things going on, and Mia didn't really want to intrude. What she did want was that to get to know the people from Underheaven a bit more, since they're now working together. Udacha seemed quite sociable. Evan, not so much. Fontaine was a bit odd. And Leuvis. Leuvis? Mia now realizes that this entire time he's been stuck inside of Kit's stomach after Karen put him there in timeout. I mean, it's pretty deserved after that play he pulled during the solstice. But he can't stay there forever though, right? Mia sits up from the warehouse floor and looks around. Kit normally is floating around here somewhere, but where? Hey, Kit, are you there? Is it possible you can let me into your palace for a moment? I want to see how Luvis is doing.
The air stands still for a moment around Mia, almost hesitant, before small wisps of golden psychic energy begin to swirl around the space above Mia. Faint laughter is accompanied by the display before a small squeak announces the appearance of Kitsune, directly above Mia's head where she lay on the ground. You want to see the boss's old friend? Seems a little odd to me that any of you guys would be interested in talking to that geezer. What's got you so interested in him? He asked with the same curious, hungry grin that he usually wears, seemingly very intrigued on Mia's answer.
Mia, slightly startled, looks up to meet the gaze of Kit. She feels like she should have expected him to show up like this, but it still surprises her. He put together Under Heaven, right? We haven't seen him for a week. Since we're working alongside them now, I feel we should at least talk to the guy. How long can he really stay inside your palace? Mia thought about what Kit said. He made a good point. Why would she be interested in talking to him? He was responsible for so much suffering during the solstice. But her curiosity bested any other thought. This man had to know a lot, right? He knew Charon whilst in CAIN. Why did he leave? How did he put together Under Heaven? Did he know her previous reincarnation? So many questions. After thinking about it, she finally looked back to Kit. Things are tough right now. I feel like we need everything we can, and I feel even he could be of some help somehow. Mia hopes her optimism is put in the right place as she says this.
Kit's smile grows somehow wider as Mia doubles down on her request. The Sin twirls around midair for a few moments, silently laughing to himself before floating up in front of Mia's face yet again. Very well then. The boss may not be the happiest with allowing you in, but I think it's going to be the most interesting thing to watch this week, so by all means, come inside. Kit's mouth opens wide, hanging agape, far too wide for the body of the little creature, but nevertheless, he waits for you to step inside.
Mia hesitantly takes a step within Kit's open maw. I am sure it'll be fine. Mia wonders why Kit had to be like this. Surely there was a better way. Karen found a real interesting sin, alright.
Mia steps into the mouth of the ancient Sin, a void of pitch black beyond his maw. The world outside is slowly swallowed and choked away as she is consumed by Kitsune, distant laughter accompanying the all-encompassing darkness. She feels lost for a moment, a sense of pure directionlessness, free-floating in whatever psychic energy that makes up the endless void inside Kit. Her senses begin to fade, one by one. Firstly, sight, with the closing of the maw. Second, hearing, as the void consumes, and slowly all other senses are stifled until nothingness remains. And then she wakes. It's the sound that shakes her first, that familiar sound of trickling water streaming through a nearby brook. Light threatens to peek through the cracks of her eyes as she slowly opens them, and are again greeted by the garden that you saw after that horrible night. The scene of serenity stretches before you, a shrine atop a small hill where the brook flows forth from, vibrant grass accenting the hill around you as you slowly stand, senses slowly but surely returning to yourself. It's then when you spot a lone figure sitting up under the shrine facing away from you, clad in a tattered white and black suit, a cracked mask evoking the image of a bird's skull beside him. A defeated man bows his head at the altar of the shrine, a small dais with a simple statuette of a fox atop it. Mia slowly approaches, the rushing sound of the brook almost egging her on alongside her curiosity, until finally she stands not but a few feet away from the man. He mutters a few words under his breath before, "Have you ever looked into the eyes of a man facing death row, Miss Simmons?"
Mia stands there looking down at this broken man. Even in such a beautiful place as this, he can't find any pleasure in it. Though that's understandable with this position. Do my own count? As she says this, she goes to take a seat where she stands. This man is no longer a threat. No need to be on guard. She's only here to talk. Care to talk for a bit, Leuvis? I brought you an apple. I'm not sure what they've got in here food-wise. If you've been eating, that is. Mia brandishes an apple she took from the warehouse. One of the few food items she could actually hold and bring with her. Ironic. She sits there quietly, awaiting his response.
Mia crosses in front to the man, sitting down beside him. She looks to his face, apple in hand, outstretching an olive branch to a broken beast. But his face is not that of a beast. Leuvis Frieden is a man with soft features, a kindly face betraying the imposing figure he may have once believed to have been. Long black hair hangs over half his face, but emerald green eyes shine through with a once wise look about them. He turns to the familiar woman next to him and gives a tired sigh, gently taking the apple. "So you do know the face of death. Thank you, Miss Simmons." He turns back, looking up at the fox idol, smiling and puffing its chest out proud. "And if you have seen death and stared back at him, I have a story to tell, if you'd hear me out. But I'm sure you didn't come here simply to hear me speak, so please, say your piece first." "Must I never be rid of your face, Iris?" he thinks to himself.
Mia sits there looking up at the fox idol Leuvis finds himself seemingly entranced by. He seems obsessed over this face of death he keeps talking about. She wonders if that's due to the week of isolation. He did say he was facing death row. It's been a week of lying on the floor waiting for something to happen, and it doesn't seem like that'll change for a while. I'm sure I've got time for a story first. Besides, I doubt we're going anywhere. I'll ask any questions I have once I'm focused again after that odd journey here through Kit. My brain's still a little fuzzy. Mia has her questions, but she's also here to learn more about Leuvis. A story from him wouldn't be the worst right now. What does a man like himself have to say, she wonders.
The withered man seems somewhat surprised at Mia's patience, expecting her to demand answers before leaving, but the patience was nonetheless appreciated. A soft, forgotten smile crosses Leuvis's face as he begins to recall this old story. "Well, many eons ago, there was a man who had died and been sent to that space between to be judged for his actions in life, and whether the powers that be would send him to the hells or the heavens. It was there, sat before the Archangel of Testimony, where the man revealed a curious notion about something. Before his sentence was read out, the man asked, 'If God is already dead, then who gives you a divine right to judge us mortals?' The Archangel stopped and gave pause, the entity's expression impossible to read, shrouded in its heavenly light. The Archangel asked, 'How can you be so certain that God is dead? If that were the case, the balance of all that is would crumble and those living upon your world would know nothing but suffering.' The man replied, "But your holiness, all my life I have known nothing but suffering. Mine was a painful existence from beginning to end, and so from my mortal perspective it seems only this could be if God was long dead." The archangel gave pause once more, before replying in kind. "But my friend, have you not known suffering all your life? Though it be small, you had moments that you cherished that I can see made you believe that your existence was worth it. But say you are correct, and that God has really been slain for many an age. Does that rob those precious memories of their value? Tiny, shimmering diamonds in the bleak cave of your life would not have been granted by God, but instead found and forged by you. But as would make the same for the pit that surrounds it. Your fortune and misfortune are not some divine acts placed upon you outside of your will, but curated by your life and circumstance as it played out. How would that make you feel?" Leuvis sighs before staring up into the statuette of the fox yet again. "And that is where my knowledge of the story ends, Miss Simmons. I believe it to be a question to the listener. If all your equal fortune and misfortune were in your own hands, how would that make you feel? I ponder that question much these days. I would perhaps be curious to hear your answer, if you'd lend me it."
Mia lowers her head in thought. Everything was in my hands, she pondered. What a question, especially for someone like herself and the life, or lives, she's lived. She sits there for a moment in silence, thinking of what an answer could be. Thinking back throughout her life and everything that's happened, and everything that she's done. I suppose I'd feel pretty useless, Mia says with a hint of sadness in her voice. I'm sure you already know my deal already. I manifested my powers and killed 567 people, and injuring a further 939. I remember the number like it's my own name. And my parents were two of them. These scars on my face are from when I got set on fire by the Lich King's holy flame, she says, massaging her face. And my wings are from when I was killed by the carrion, she adds, now caressing her wings. All of it was caused by my own recklessness. Now I'm constantly reminded of all my misfortune, just by looking in a mirror. Mia leans backwards and lies on her back, looking up to the ceiling of the shrine they found themselves within. I feel like I could just lie down forever and wither away at times, my constant efforts to be useful all being for naught, and only being able to cause suffering for those around me. Why even bother? But then that's the thing, Mia says, sitting back up. Fortune is also in my hands. She now brings herself to her feet. Think of it like this. You're in a pitch black room, surrounded by your misfortune, but the light is always there. You just need to go and turn it on. She says now, walking around to be in front of Leuvis. You could lay there and wither away, or you could reach for that light, and the fact that there's even that sliver of hope for something better is enough for me to stand back up. See my eyes? I got them from someone who helped me find this light. I always see them in the mirror too. My actual answer is that I'd feel hopeful. Hopeful that there's always a chance to make things right.
Leuvis looks up towards Mia with a quizzical look on his face, his mouth slightly agape, seemingly taken aback by the girl's answer, and some hint of awestruck in his eyes. He composes himself for a moment before speaking. "Even with all you have seen, and all that has happened to you, you would still see the diamonds of hope in the rough of the world. But in the world that we live in, that ideal of taking both fortune and misfortune into our own hands is simply a fantasy. And you say you hold hope in spite of it." He takes a moment, studying the beacon of light in this girl before him, and he realizes. "Oh, yes. Of course you do. I see your eyes, and maybe I knew them well. Those eyes also made me feel hopeful at one point. You asked if your own eyes counted for a man who knows he's going to die soon. It is not my place to say whether or not that is true. But I can now see that you at least have the power to break those chains, and maybe even escape your fate, with any good fortune.
Mia goes to sit back down again. She feels she might have gotten lost in what she was saying a little bit there. It just felt right. Charon and Evelyn seem to think the same thing, which is comforting, Mia says, planting herself back next to Leuvis. You could argue that it's ignorance, but with how things are now, all we can really do is look on the bright side, or risk falling into despair, something I know all too well. Now having wound down from her burst of energy, it's time for some of her own questions. You say my eyes helped you feel hopeful once. Did you know my past reincarnation too? Charon's mentor. You and Charon did work together in CAIN, didn't you? I think I recall him mentioning knowing you.
Leuvis sighs. Looking at the girl before him can only conjure the memories of another that existed seemingly a lifetime ago. Pain, laughter, and camaraderie all within those eyes, and yet now completely foreign in every way. He stands up, walking over to the edge of the shrine, looking out over the rushing brook. He polishes the apple on his coat jacket before taking a small bite of it. Indeed, I knew the one that came before you. It's funny hearing the name Evelyn out of your mouth. She talked about her much as well. Yes, me and Cypher were inseparable during our prime years in CAIN. And when he met his mentor, the three of us became a very tight trio indeed. He turns back out to Mia with a distant expression of longing on his face. Pain, and the slightest hint of tears. Her name was Iris Valentine. Evelyn's reincarnation before you. A peerless binder and Cypher's mentor as well. And the closest thing that could have been called a love in my life. She was the best of us, and so naturally she is the only one of us not here these days.
So she knew Evelyn as well. She must appear to all of her reincarnations. And Cypher? That must be Charon. And he did know her. Iris Valentine. What a pretty name. And a binder too. Mia was taking in everything that Leuvis was saying, but once he reached the end, love. Love? Leuvis loved Iris? She sat there slightly stunned at that discovery. Leuvis and Iris were a thing? And now she's gone. How awful that must be for him. And through further thinking, she realized something that made her stomach sink. I'm the walking reminder of her death. And I'm talking to the man who loved her. Oh no, I must be torturing this man. Now taking a proper look at his expression, it seems she might be right. She sits there unsure of what to do for a second. What does she say to this? Sorry, I didn't realize. Mia rises to her feet. Maybe I shouldn't have come here. You don't need to be reminded of anything like that, knowing what my existence means for her.
Leuvis breathes deeply, looking at Mia now dejected in front of him. Compassion? He thought he had abandoned that feeling long ago, but seeing it displayed by someone so unabashedly before him, and one he believed may even be stronger than himself, sparked that old emotion once again. Perhaps maybe not. If you truly possess that much compassion within you, maybe it would have been more easing for your conscience not to stir up such painful memories in someone. But none of us can afford to be so purely altruistic in every waking moment of our lives, Miss Simmons. If you truly wish to hold on to that hope, keep your compassion, keep your kind heart. But if you wish to survive, know to not abandon reason for comfort. Do both, and you will be truly living up to what Iris wanted her successor to be. You do not hurt me, Miss Simmons, any more than the ever-present memory of Iris does. If I were to take it how one with your eyes might, Maybe you were a reminder that she never really left.
Mia, still looking away from Leuvis, listens to what he has to say. Yeah, I suppose you're right. Can't be treading on eggshells constantly. His words resonate with her. A reminder she's never really left. That's a nice way to view it. She still has so much to learn, but she's glad she's got guidance along the way. Mia turns back to face Leuvis. You definitely are wise, Leuvis. Thank you, she says, shooting a smile his way. She now moves over to one of the pillars of the shrine and slides down it to sit against it. I guess I can stick around for a bit longer in that case. Besides, I've still got plenty of things I could ask you. Even with her smile returned, she takes on a more semi-serious tone for her questioning. Why did you leave CAIN and form under heaven? Mia knows that CAIN wasn't the best place to work, but what would the specific reason be for back in the day?
He looks at Mia sit down and cocks his head. Someone calling him wise? In all his years, that may be the first time someone has said that to him, genuinely meaning it. Instinct told him to brush it off as a mere shallow compliment, but something about the nature of this girl wanted him to believe it more. You have an odd judge of character, Miss Simmons. That is an understandable question to ask. The reason is blurry to me these days. Back then I had so much passion about making a change, but by the time I gained the power to enact that change, well, I trust my old friend when he says I have lost my way. Back then I truly believed CAIN was a stagnant, fraudulent organization intent on upholding the status quo by any means necessary. To what end, I couldn't field a guess. But it was clear that sin events were getting worse, and exorcists more powerful. It seemed obvious to me at the time. CAIN had to be torn down. And if they weren't going to use the boundless potential of new sins, some naive opportunist certainly would. Cypher told me that it was folly. Told me I didn't have the mind for a leadership role like that. Obviously, I should have listened. But the support of 3 of my close friends blinded me to his words. And so, in some grand goal of making the world a better place, we ran off. Zara, Sonju, It, and I. Our escape wouldn't have been possible without each one of us. And it was all folly nonetheless. It never mattered the era that CAIN existed. In any age, it has been a plague on life itself. And some part of me still believes it must be dug out of the world by any means necessary.
Yeah, that sounds like CAIN, alright. How Liv described it definitely fit with the idea that Mia had of current CAIN, especially now that they're hunting everybody down like they're pests. Leuvis, a man who lost his way trying to change the status quo and stop the crash course that CAIN found itself on. Mia knew of Fontaine's connection to CAIN, but Sanju and It also being a part of it was new information. So, most of Under Heaven's members were also from within CAIN. I guess that makes sense since most exorcists outside of CAIN are either recruited or killed. And I guess you just picked up Udacha and Evan along the way?
Indeed. Towards the end of our time, there were all in the same facility. Despite our vastly different backgrounds, we found a common goal in our disdain for CAIN. And there we began our preparations for escape. I grew closer to those 3, perhaps more than I was willing to admit at the time. During our fervent plotting, they were some of the people that were closest to me. And then we escaped, picking up many exorcists along the way. Most died. They didn't have the talent required for staying alive so far off the beaten path. But Udacha and Evan were clearly made of tougher stuff. They proved to be invaluable assets in most of our plans. If anything, we certainly proved a real problem for CAIN during the history of our existence.
Quite the team. Under Heaven really did become quite a big thorn in the side of CAIN. With the events of the solstice, CAIN changed drastically. With that thought, Mia looked back upon the solstice. Such a horrific event. Although it was a big part of damaging CAIN, however, it can't be glossed over that so much harm to innocent people was caused. I just wish that so many innocent people weren't hurt in the process. They didn't deserve that nightmare. So much happened on that night. So many people lost their lives. And it didn't just fall to Underheaven. The cadre was also responsible, even if unintentionally. Although in some cases, it very much was intentional. Underheaven, the exceptions, and VG6 left so much damage in our wake. I didn't want to hurt so many people again. Mia sighs and drops her head. That night was but another moment of her inability to help anybody, but she has the mindset to keep moving. I do feel a bit sorry about it. I'm sure they were a close ally, but there was nothing else we could do. We thought we were stopping Behemoth from killing a countless amount of people, so I smothered their mask and they broke down. I didn't really know much about Sanju, but it seems you were ready to part ways with him anyway. And I'm glad Fontaine, Udacha, and Evan are alright, even if Fontaine is a little odd.
Leuvis smirks slightly at Mia's comments about his former team members. He takes another small bite of the apple before setting it down beneath the fox statuette. It was a fool in the end, I fear, as was Sanju. Both allowed personal ideals to rise to the forefront due to opportunity. One that I gave them, I suppose. Dr. Fontaine is the strangest woman I've ever met, and somehow still has a good head on her shoulders, despite first glance. Leuvis sighed, then looked down to Mia with a contemplative expression. Do not try to join Atlas under the boulder of blame, Miss Simmons. At least in this instance, there is an obvious culprit here, and it is not yourself or your friends. If anything, allow our folly to be a lesson. That even if you may have a goal that you deem more important than anything else in the world, the steps you take to rise to that goal should be laid more carefully than I thought to do.
Although Mia still held the belief that she was at least partially responsible for what happened, she could understand Leuvis saying how she was free of blame. Without his input, none of it would have even began. I'll keep it in mind, though I've never really been on the planning committee. That's what Karen is off doing at the moment, and in missions it's Grace or Hyperion calling the shots. However, I know any actions we will take will be thought through thoroughly. Nobody wants a repeat of the solstice, I can guarantee. Mia looks off into the distance, perusing the serene environment in front of her. I am just more focused on keeping everyone's heads screwed on. Mia scoots over to the edge of the shrine, dangling her feet over the grass, watching as the trees sway in the wind. It feels like everyone else is on the verge of shattering. I was close myself. With everything going on, and the blame they also feel, it's understandable. But I'm still worried for them. I want to make sure they'll be fine. I know I am not the best at talking to people. I mean, I spent about 5 years in near isolation within CAIN. But I still want to try. Mia rotates back around to face Leuvis. If I'm alright asking, what was Iris like? Mia looks to the man, knowing that talk of Iris might be call upon long ago memories that may be upsetting. However, it was him who said not to abandon reason for comfort. I wonder what she would do.
— Leuvis' expression softens, as his eyes flash a familiar expression looking at Mia. There's no need to wonder, Miss Simmons. You're already doing exactly as she would. In the worst of times, she was always there to knock some sense into the two of us. I suppose if you wanted to learn anything from her, it's that sometimes when your teammates are being irrational, take their heads and knock them together a few times. Take that as you will, I suppose. But being more stern is a good quality in a team anchor. She was equally caring as she was competent, not to mention confident. Even if she wasn't sure the outcome of a decision she made, Even if she wasn't sure the outcome of a decision, she made each one with the confidence that she chose the best option out of all presented. He walks over, standing next to Mia, leaning against one of the pillars of the shrine. He turns to look down into her. I'm sure she would be honored to have you as next in line.
Caring, competent, confidence, Mia thought to herself. These are the traits she could strive to have. Though, maybe she isn't all that far off as she thought. Honored to have you as the next in line. The words bounced around within Mia's head. I know some of them definitely need their heads knocked together. Maybe this is my excuse to knock some sense into them. Nah, who am I kidding? Slowly but surely we'll get there. Letting out a deep sigh as she says this. After a moment, Mia jolts back up to her feet. Okay, where were we? I got a little sidetracked. She walks back and forth between two of the pillars, pondering her next question. Okay, another question. What kind of sins do you have? You're a binder, right? Wait, hopefully Kit didn't actually eat your sins, did he?
Leuvis watches her pace, a small smile now creeping across his face for the first time. He looks at her walk back and forth, feeling a slight sense of pride? That felt off to him. The only thing separating them from being enemies was a week's worth of time, yet already after a few moments of conversation he couldn't help but feel that maybe for the first time in years he had contributed something good to the world with his words to this girl. Yes, that is something of an amusing matter. Out of my 47 sins in my possession at the time of my imprisonment, Cypher told Kit to eat 45 of them. He finishes the statement with a hint of an awkward laugh before continuing. He allowed me only to keep my most trusted sin and partner, Bucephalon, and the sin that Iris bestowed to me upon her passing.
Oh right, both Leuvis and Iris were binders, so she gave him her most trusted sin. Oh. Oh. Mia coughs a bit awkwardly. Well, I'm glad Kit left those two. I'm sure he, well, Kara, let's be real, knew the importance of them. And wow, 47 sins? That's nothing compared to Dutch or Hyperion. I think they have 3 combined? Mia stops her pacing. I saw Bucephalon during the solstice. That one did a number on fate, but... Mia pauses for a moment. What is Iris's sin like? She's unsure if she should even be asking this. It's potentially more upsetting memories, but she is curious. She wonders what kind of sin her past self would bind. Would it be cute? Metal AF? She wanted to know.
Leuvis smiles more broadly. It's an old smile, weathered and stomped down by years of scowling, but there's an old warmth still within it, like a once grand hearth now dilapidated, but still blazing with light. He extends his hand to the floor in between them. Why don't I just show you? Wisps of gray grace form in the palm of his hand. No binder's glove needed, he summons forth the sin from the very psychic sea itself. The energy forms and builds up from the ground, forming into a quadrupedal creature of ghostly, angelic beauty. The sin resembled something of a centaur, with horse-like legs and hindquarters, and a humanoid upper body with arms. The skin of the creature appears to resemble beautiful white marble, traced with gold inlays, occasionally growing out of the creature like twigs and flowers. It stands, regal in its disposition, gazing down at Mia. Incredibly still, yet a sense of curiosity from the creature, and maybe even familiarity. This is Aria, the oldest and most pristine of all of Iris's 54 sins. The most any one binder has any managed to collect. It is rumored that her roots lie in angelic origin. Some claim she was born from the prayers of those who wished for peace and hope. Others believe she was an original guardian of the Garden of Eden. She has existed for many an age, and many have laid eyes upon her. But what do you think about her, Miss Simmons?
Mia stares wide-eyed at the sin in front of her, mouth agape in awe at the beauty of Iris's oldest and most pristine sin. Wow, is all that Mia can utter, captivated by the sin.
That is As apt a response as ever, I think. Leuvis says with a soft chuckle. He walks beside Ariel and rests his hand on her shoulder, staring up at the creature with a mix of distant longing and deep respect. Ariel bends down towards Mia, overlooking her with cold, golden eyes that seem to see straight through any possible lie or obfuscation, staring at the very contents of her soul. She pulls back and suddenly lowers down on her front legs in almost a bow directly in front of Mia. It lowers its head to her, almost in reverence, as Leuvis looks down at the sight before him. He sighs softly, smiling as he does so. It seems inevitable this point would come. Ariel took interest in you ever since I first observed you. I should have known the underlying reason. This creature belongs to you, Mia Simmons. As the current, and what very well may be the last of Evelyn's line, Ariel belongs to you. Accept her, if you would, and she will be a partner to you more loyal than any sin could be. He smiles, that sense of pride growing as much as it possibly could. He decided that he did not mind dying now, if he could help some part in prolonging his partner's legacy. The history books may be better off marking him as a footnote. If his role in this world was simply to propel others forward and support them, maybe that would be fine enough for him.
Mia continues to stare bewildered. This sin, the one that belonged to Iris, now belongs to me? It's a lot to take in all at once. This is a huge deal. Leuvis is giving one of his most trusted, Iris's most trusted, sin to me. This sin fought alongside Iris as one of her most trusted allies, and now it bows to me. If it's true that I will be the last of Evelyn's line, then this sin will fight alongside my side now, through thick and thin. It saw the reincarnations that came before, and now it's my turn. Mia composes herself and stands up straight. If you truly desire to join me, Ariel, then I'll gladly accept you. I may not exactly be what Iris was, but I won't stop striving to reach greater heights. Mia looks back over to Leuvis, this man who was once her enemy, and someone who was so down in life not even that long ago, stands in front of her with a new sort of energy. He now wore a smile on his face, and she could see a shine in his eyes. Thank you, Leuvis. I don't know what I was expecting when I decided I wanted to talk to you, but I'm glad I did. I got to learn so much more about myself that I didn't even know was there. And I got to learn more about you and Under Heaven too. What I once thought was a monster turned out to be a person, just like me. Mia gives a quick bow to Leuvis. I don't think I have any questions left I want answered. Wait, how long has it been? They're probably expecting me back soon. I probably shouldn't leave them waiting. Mia, now satisfied, walks back out to the grass from where she entered Kit's palace. But before she leaves, she turns and shoots one final smile at Leuvis.
And Mia leaves Kit's palace, along with Leuvis, contemplative. Leuvis finds himself a newer man than he was before Mia spoke to him, giving him some fraction of hope to maybe prolong existing. It is hours, if not days later, when Leuvis finds himself forcefully shunted from Kit's palace after Kit and Charon's bond was broken in the fight with justice. He finds himself now in the corner of the Under Heaven warehouse, free, tentatively so, for the time being. He decides that it would be best to potentially obscure himself from everyone else and continue his thinking before reappearing to everyone. And maybe having a conversation to clear the air with his old friend might be in order. And that is where that little addendum will leave off. Thank you, everybody, so much if you did decide to tune into this and listen for it. And I hope you enjoy whatever session that you listen to after this. As always, we will see you upon the river Styx, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye bye.
Bye bye.